Okay, guys. First of all, really appreciate your time you have spent in this summit, and I'm grateful that the organizer allowed me to speak, and excited to be here with you, sharing some knowledge about this wonderful topic, PowerShell Core. My name is Maximo Trinidad, and I'm a Sapient technology evangelist, and also a PowerShell MVP. I've been as an MVP since 2009, and I've been using PowerShell since 2006, since it came out. This is a very exciting journey since the beginning of PowerShell, and finally people are trying to get the grasp of using the technology in their environment, which is very important. Topic of today, of course, is what's cooking with PowerShell Core. And this is basically our little agenda we're going to go through. There's a lot of information in here, and I know that sometimes it's going to be a little more repetitive because they've been, either the PowerShell Microsoft team have able to explain some of this, but I'm trying to bring in the environment, or how can you experience the cross-platform scripting. So we're going to go through all these nice little topics, and then dive into the real thing of what we want to accomplish here. Desktop cross-platform environment, as you know, well, we got our Windows 10. It becomes, it has the Hyper-V. I don't know how many of you have Windows 10. And I'm assuming you all have the RTM edition, right? This is 162.99. Who's using Insider Edition? Okay, me too. Yeah, we go through the burden sometimes of using the Insider Edition just because we want to be in the cutting edge, and sometimes we do pay the price. As a matter of fact, there was some Facebook notification that the latest edition of Insider broke ISE. So those who are not using it, you're still safe. But of course, Microsoft will address that and will make the correction. So we do have Hyper-V, VMware, VirtualBox. Who's using WSL, Windows System for Linux? Awesome, awesome. Wow, this is one piece of feature that if you have Windows 10, the RTM edition, especially is the fall edition, you should be able to use it. You should be able to install it. It's a feature that you have to enable first, and then you got to go to the Microsoft Store and pick the distribution you want to use. I normally use the Ubuntu one, but it's good, especially now that nowadays we're talking DevOps, and DevOps right now not only handle Windows system only, it handles all variety of systems now. And now with PowerShell Core being open source and across platform, makes it very important for you that time you have spent learning Windows PowerShell, it doesn't matter. The language is the same. Features might difference in here and there, but that knowledge, you're able to use it in moving forward. My installed distribution is Ubuntu. You have SUSE. There's Debian too, as a matter of fact. And then, of course, now we're talking about the cloud solution, Azure, Amazon. Of course, I'm not covering neither, both in this one. But whatever you use, the knowledge you've been trained on and the practice, you can use in all different environments. Now, about the editors. We got editors. We got the Windows ISE, Visual Studio Code, and then we have text-based editors like Vim. Also, there's a Windows version for that too, Emacs, and then all the other ones like Notepad++, and maybe other few ones in there. Those are lightweight editors in the sense that you can open it quick and code in it, have extensions, and you can use it. Sometimes they're a little bit learning curve in configuring them, but it doesn't matter. We are DevOps, we are scripters, and one thing that we do is we love the tools, we adapt to it, okay? Then we have their own enterprise level editors, Visual Studio, PowerShell Studio, and all the Sapiens Pro that have all the more tools. Then again, that's your tool belt, okay? It is your tool belt. Don't think of it, oh yeah, they sound like this, or you know what? You use XML, then you use an XML editor. Use a SQL, then use either SSMS or use a middle lightweight SQL editor for that. Now, one of the interesting features that I like, okay, first of all, I'm a Sapien MVP and a Sapien evangelist, but I'm using Sapien long before that. I mean, I've been using Sapien products since 1998. It was only Primal Script for VBScript. So I've been all through all this year, I've been trusting Sapien's product all this time. So one of the interesting features that we have on Sapien PowerShell Studio, template wizard, script grouping, custom tool, I'm going to show that one very nicely on this product. Cache editor, because you have to have those tools in there for one environment to do rapid application development of your scripting. So this is the application for that. And of course, we integrated the PowerShell Core console in it, so that way we can at least test our PowerShell against the PowerShell Core. All the languages. Well, besides PowerShell Core, we have Anaconda. Who used Anaconda here? Do you know what Anaconda is? That's Python. Well, it's a Python package for scientific, right? For scientific use. One thing that I like about Anaconda is that the latest version will have Anaconda 3.6.x. All packages are included. If you haven't experienced Python, I mean, you know very well, you're laughing about it, that you're missing packages. You got to go in there, do pip install, and for each individual package, or just concatenate whatever number of packages we download. Anaconda have everything. They have a minimal installation, or they have a full installation. So it doesn't matter. Install it, boom, and you're on, okay? SQL Server. Anybody here using SQL Server on Linux? Awesome. A few of you. Well, you know what? Now that you have the ability of creating virtual machine Linux on your Windows 10 using Hyper-V or even a VMware or even VirtualBox, why not? It takes only minutes to install SQL Server Engine on a Linux box, and you're up and running, okay? One thing that I like about Linux is that if there's a problem with the library, you can go and get it. Quick, boom. Oh, I have a problem with this. Then you apt-get, install whatever, and you can fix it. Now, OpenSSH. OpenSSH is the standard for connectivity between Linux machine and now Linux and Windows. It's the easiest way, and now with the upcoming, which was supposed to be the latest Insider Edition, 1803, build 1803, supposedly you should be able to just turn on the machine and it's already set up automatically in a fly. But previous version than that, there's a little step to do, but it's much easier than setting up WinRM in Linux, okay? So SSH is the way to go on the Linux side to connectivity. So now it takes us to this. You know Windows PowerShell. You probably know DOS batch. Well, guess what? PowerShell gives you that flexibility with the aliases to, you know, kind of like mimic Linux command. And that's great. Jeffrey Snover did a very good job with that because he knew, was trapping everyone who was in Linux to come back to Windows and do the command line. And that was great. But this here will show you most of those languages here are cross-platform for a long time. So it was happening at one point that now PowerShell is open source. Okay, now it's competing. But then again, it's not meant to replace your system scripting in Linux or even SQL. No, it's another tool, but it's a .NET tool. And I love that because, I mean, when you start using and working .NET objects to get that information out of the system, to do a CSV and create a report, that is amazing, okay? So right now, it's just stats here on 2007, we're 1 point below, now we're 1 point up. Well, it doesn't matter. It's just meaning that now people finally are realizing, oh, wait a minute, there's something interesting to do. Of course, make the calculation. 2006, and we are in 2018. Wow, it took a long time. But now that it's open source, then that makes a big difference, cross-platform, and you can contribute with it. This is an example of the WSL, I put there, that's the RTM 6299. And as you see the console, which is great, it's meant only to be used on the console. But those who are hacker enough in our mentality, wait a minute, I can install Ubuntu desktop on my WSL. It's not supported by Microsoft, but for what I want to do, which is create script in a graphical Ubuntu, Linux desktop, you know what? It works for me. The only thing that doesn't work is opening VS Code on your Ubuntu desktop in WSL. Yeah, apparently there's some processes that it knows. It try to open the binary in Windows, it conflicts because, oh, wait a minute, this is Linux. I don't know why, but that's the only issue with it. But then again, VS Code is a great tool for cross-platform because now you can open using it in Ubuntu, and I'll show you some really nice demo with that. We'll see what I mean with that. All right, so Windows PowerShell versus PowerShell Core. We went through this, right? So this is very quick. Windows PowerShell is a Microsoft trademark. PowerShell Core is an open source, supported. We all know Windows PowerShell is only for Windows environment. PowerShell Core, cross-platform. Feedbacks, that's very important, feedbacks. I've been policing a little bit in there because people love the fact that in the instruction in GitHub, in PowerShell Core, tell you, please include which PowerShell version you're talking about this issue. When people doesn't put the version, it's because there's not to sneak in a Windows PowerShell issue in GitHub. Ain't gonna work, you're gonna be kicked out. If by any chance the issue could relate to PowerShell Core, you know what? They will take a look at it, but it's not going to be addressed in Windows PowerShell area, okay? So that's why in the landing page of the PowerShell Core GitHub, it tells you, there's a heading telling you Windows PowerShell, difference between Windows PowerShell and PowerShell Core, where to submit those issues, okay? So this is very, very important. Of course, just like Jeffrey Snover said, PowerShell is complete. Well, doesn't mean it's completely done. There might be some fixes maybe in there, right? But it's not enough. The versions, it's frozen. It's taking in there. PowerShell Core, the next generation, is the next task at hand for the open source PowerShell team to continue. And then, of course, this is not going to replace. It's meant to be side by side. No matter what's going to happen, right? Naming, just like Jeffrey Snover said before, maybe you're going to name it back to PowerShell. I don't know, man. I really don't. I will keep it separate. But then again, this is me too, you know? It's not my prediction. But then all efforts are directed to keep doing improvement in PowerShell Core. So we all know that. All right, so now PowerShell Core installation is very easy. Just go to the GitHub page, and then also all the platforms. You have that section there to tell you all the different OSs and platform in order to pick and follow the instruction. This is very quick and efficient. All right, now, as we all know, there are PowerShell Gallery, and Nuget, and also the Chocolate, which I'm going to explain after this. But then again, here I give you a little rough path of where are those paths where those modules are going to be stored at, okay? Very convenient, especially when you want to install something that is only core, then you know where to find them, okay? Now, Chocolate. That's one thing I use Chocolate for, two things. I've been using it to install the OpenSSH, because it's very simple and straightforward. When you do the Choco info on that particular OpenSSH, it gives you a list of what's the updates version and what they have done with it, which is great. And then, of course, because I'm using Windows X Server, then I use the Choco install CX server in order to have that graphical enabled on my WSL. So I give you that information there so you can follow it through. And of course, just go to an example where you run the info on those two different program installations so you have an idea how it looks like, okay? I like it very much, so. By the way, every time they do an OpenSSH update, I'm seeing Joey Aiello mention it, oh, it's updated and everything. I think it's like a day later, it's available in Chocolate. So Okay, we always almost the current version. All right, so install .NET develop packages. Well, you know very well .NET Framework, full CLR, .NET Core is not full CLR, so Windows GUIs are not supported as a .NET Core. But I'm going to show you one little nice trick that I developed with PowerShell Studio. Anybody can do it. So then, of course, .NET Core full package. How to say, PowerShell Gallery already have the PS Gallery modules installed, and maybe you might need some registration to verify, but it's very simple. So, and then, of course, for those who are interested in SQL Server, SMO for PowerShell Core, cross-platform, meaning Linux also, there's a special Microsoft SQL Server Management Object package you can download from Nuget, and up to now it's been pretty stable, which means you can, SQL Server modules are not available in Linux, only available in Windows. If you're in Windows, you can use those SQL Server PowerShell modules from Windows to Linux and get information, you can manage it. Now, if you're in a Linux environment, it's not available. You have to create your own, which you can. And of course, what it is all about? Cross-platform ecosystem. Everything you have set up on your desktop, that's your admin DevOps desktop environment, so that way you can do on-premise, hybrid, and cloud application, scripting, automation, anything you want, okay? You always start from your desktop, and then you move to whatever other environment. This is my interpretation for that. Docker, Anaconda, I mean, everything is interconnected at the end. Now we're going to the demo. Awesome. Of course, I'm providing some very informative links in there, some of the resources, by including a blog about a lot on PowerShell Core. So you might want to take a look at that, especially on Anaconda, SQL Server. And of course, at the end of this session, I have a PowerShell Studio giveaway. All right? So let's see how you guys interact here, and we'll see who will be the winner. Okay? All right, so let's go for the demo. Let's see, I have my VMware Linux system up and running here. I'm going to minimize that. And we're going to start first with my editor. This is PowerShell Studio. And one thing you notice is very integrated. You have the feel and look of a Visual Studio editor. And one thing that I mentioned on my list of little features that I like is that I can group my, after I open a series of script files that I'll be working on, I can create a file group with them. And this is going to click here for my session. And also I loaded all my scripts that I'll be working on. Notice that I'm also included some PI, some Python files in there. Of course, PowerShell Studio is meant to work for PowerShell scripting, but it doesn't limit you to use some of this feature to work with other console languages, okay? I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. So we'll see here. And then, of course, we have the console down here, and as you can see, everyone is here. Notice Ubuntu, PS Core, 16. I have already a console pointing to my Linux WSL. And the good thing about this is that WSL gave you the ability to create a path to where your C drive is. So it's called Mount C program file. You can see that's already, I'm already in a Windows folder in there within my Ubuntu. Okay? Which is great. If I come in here, and I'm going to change this to my home path. Oh, yeah, I know. Probably Jeffrey's going to knock me out in here. He's like, oh, you're going to do this and that. Okay. Well, you know what? Guys, you have to understand one thing. I'm not a Linux administrator, okay? I had the opportunity to finally jump into Linux when SQL Server Preview and PowerShell Core came out. As soon as it came out beta, I just went on the Linux, gave me the opportunity to learn it. Anyone can do that if you want to get into the new technology. So here I'm going to place dir. I can see all my files on my Ubuntu home directory. Okay, and now if I want to go to Let me see here. Let me open this one here. Okay, so we got on the first one, and I can do this, you know, I can go ahead and, this is my SQL Server SMO script, which I go and make sure that registration for Nuget is there. That's a script. I'm not going to go through that one. I'm going to go straight to the SQL side. The SQL area here, and here it is. So, because I have, now, when you have multiple environments, you have to keep it up, right? Doesn't mean that whenever I installed my components, .NET components in PowerShell Core, I have to do the same in WSL, okay? So, in this case, I already have loaded the SMO, the .NET Core package in both my Windows, PowerShell, and also in WSL. I'm going to load my assemblies in here to start working on it. And I can see in here, I can highlight, okay, I can highlight and do selection, run selection console. I can do that. So now running this against my Ubuntu console, no errors. I mean, it's good. If it had errors, it means that something is wrong, or maybe the DLL was not loaded correctly. And then the next will connect me to the SQL Server, and it will go ahead and bring the information I'm requesting here. So I'm going to go here and run selection console, and boom. All right, so you can see the result set on my .NET object. I connected to my Ubuntu SQL Server, and I'm on my Windows environment. So it connects, and it gave me information back. Okay, so now, one of the other features in PowerShell Studio that I love very much when I work with scripting is that, and I did this one now. I did this one now. We have the feature of custom tools. Why? Because we do have tools that we want to use from inside our PowerShell Studio. And in this case, I could go ahead and let me just enable my Python file in here. You can see in here, I'm integrate. This is just straight Python file. It's going to do an enumeration against a record I'm going to request from SQL Server. It's going to display it on screen. At the same time, it's going to create me a GUI. So, but then again, remember, this is just PowerShell editor, but because I'm using custom tools option here that I configured, I have an area here where I can do run Python run code. Okay, and when I do that, you're going to see that I can execute in a flash my Python code from within my PowerShell Studio, which is great, because now even though, I mean, I could create, in order to create this code, I had to go to a true Python editor. Here, at least I have everything combined, and I just go ahead and run the test, okay? All right, so when I click in here out, I can see my list here of how it looks. There's a Python list of the same information that was displayed on the graphic. Okay, so those are one of the good features in there. Now, PowerShell, by default, will have, let me get here, I call it non-SMO because it's not related to SQL Server Management Object, but you have the ability to connect to SQL Server using the system data SQL client class. This is provided by PowerShell automatically. There's no SQL engine installed, there's no SQL SMO installed in there, but now you can go ahead and run this, run the whole setup in here. I'm just going to display the data down there. Right click, and I'm going to do selection console again. And that didn't run. Let's see what happened here. And of course, there you go. Up. Of course. Missing information. Okay, so as a matter of fact, let me run the whole thing in here. Selection. And as you can see, it ran. It created a file at the same time, so I'm going to go up to display the data. So in this case, I ran a query against my an SP Who2, which is to give me what's the processes running on SQL Server, and display only the 10 lines out of that result set. So this is great. Now, one of the good things about creating cross-platform scripts is this. As you can also run the script file by itself, you can use the requires flag, the pound requires dash version 6. That will tell you if you run the script file from the command line, then it will tell you, okay, wait a minute, verify the PowerShell version you're running on. It will stop if it's not version 6, okay? And then also at the same time, just like who was here in the Adam Driscoll session? Okay, so he shows these variables there. This variable is only on PowerShell Core, which is great because it's very simple to use because it will identify, oh, am I in Windows, am I in Linux? So you can start doing cross-platform script that behave differently, and you can add, especially if you're using file path, you see is $ is Windows, then export to C dash, and you can, you can use the forward slash if you feel comfortable with it, it will work. And then, of course, if it's Linux, then different format for the path, so that way you can use those variables to help you, okay? All right, so now, let's say we want to go to the Linux environment, right? When a Linux environment is separate, it's not connected to Windows, but then you have to make sure you mount a folder with your script files. Of course, you're going to give me. Yay, another one. You always ask for password twice. Yeah, that's what, when you mistype the password, forget it. I could include it in there, but I just don't want to. There you go. It's there. You see here, now we got a you call it a folder here, which points to my files that are really my Windows file. Okay. Perfect. Now, but what happened? Because I can't install a Windows editor in there. I have to use VS Code. Let's open VS Code. A little bit. There you go. All right. So now, if I go and open my sample here for a script that was run and created in Windows, and you can see in here I have all the visibility there, and now I can just go ahead and yes, we'd like to do this. Right click, selection, and boom. Okay, wait a minute, what is this? Okay, it is right click. When one thing doesn't work, you just can do copy, right? PWSH. Yeah. And I'm gonna do right click, paste. So you gave me the same thing. Boom, boom, boom. And there you go. So copy paste the code from my share Windows folder from VS Code into the PowerShell prompt, and as you can see, it's working. So this is the whole. Yep.
I'm curious on that. So should be using some VS Code is missing.
Yeah. I just installed it. Yeah.
So it's using two different versions.
Yeah, it's not configured correctly.
Okay.
VS Code. It's supposed, if you have error, again, because you're probably missing extensions, then a little bit of configuration, but overall the whole idea is that you develop something in Windows Editor, and because you have it mapped from Linux into the Windows folder, you can pull it up with VS Code, because that's the good editor cross-platform, and then you can, do whatever you need in there. That's the whole really point. The rest is configuring your tools, okay? Because I normally use everything on my Windows side, you know, I don't need to, as a presenter, I don't need to really configure everything. The essentials are there, and I could configure more, but it just the overall is that the code will work no matter where. Okay, so yeah, so essentially, yeah, that's what we're doing here. And of course, you already all saw the how do you call it, the fantastic demo on the Lightning community Lightning speed on this thing here, which I'm gonna go here, PW, and we're gonna go here. Ooh, PS session, that's cool. There you go. So you go there, boom, which is great. I just run the, I know. I didn't do it the way you wanted, Fred, Jeffrey, I know. I got to sit down with you, Joe, so you can explain to me on that part. But then again, you know, from everything is developed on the Windows side, and everything is working across platform, okay? That is the whole wraparound of this whole thing, okay? The rest is about the code, right? The code, it doesn't matter. You can use your Spider. Spider is including in Anaconda also. That Python editor is great, okay? It's included. So when you install Anaconda, that's there. So you can develop all your Python files and code on this editor, and then you can move it across platform also. So it's great thing. You shouldn't be afraid to give it a try and experiment with this. Any question for now?
Well, you mentioned that Jeffrey wasn't a fan of the way you're doing something.
Yeah, no. It's just the way that I'm calling the file, right? Yeah, because I'm using the basic way. I just put the you know, the path, the file name, and then, you know, all the arguments with it that is needed. There's always different way to do things. There's nothing wrong with it. There's always an efficient way to do it, and there's always the beginner's way to do it. You all know that. You always start from, okay, one-liner, script file, functions, modules. And then after that, it goes distribution of that, how to deploy it, you know. This is one thing that our product provides is deployment. You know, we offer a feature to deploy your solution, which is great. It's basic, you know, it's an essential that you can compose, you know, more than that. You add more stuff to it, okay? Yes?
So, you know, in Windows, you run PowerShell, and then you run the script, you know, foo.ps1. In Unix, you don't have to run PowerShell to run a PowerShell script, right? You can be in Bash, and you can say foo.ps1 if the first line of the script has a comment character, #, then bang, and then a path to PowerShell. So from any shell, you can call any other shell if that, or any other script if that script has that #, bang, and a pointer to their exe.
Yeah. So on my next presentation, I'll probably implement that way. Thank you, Jeffrey, for that. I really appreciate the comment. Yeah. So I mean, this is the whole thing. I mean, I wanted to show this because all the tools are available, especially the features on WSL. Install it, use it. I mean, there's no why not. It's there for you. I don't know, maybe the organization is preventing for you. It's a possibility, right? But if you have a system at home with Windows 10 latest edition that you can afford, come on, Insider Edition, you know what? Sacrifice a laptop. Go for it, you know? It's been mostly stable for most occasions, all right, the Insider version. And you're always going to know what's coming half a year or a year from now, okay? It doesn't hurt, all right? So basically, that's all I got. I wanted to show you, you know, the scripting mobility between that and, you know, between different operating system. And And it's simple enough, you know. It's simple enough. You shouldn't stop where you're at. It's your future. I mean, remember that at one point in time, maybe it's going to come down to you that, oh, Linux admin left. And they're going to dump the thing to you. So be ready for it, okay? There's a lot of free tools, communities out there to help in anything you want, okay? We're here to help. We want you to succeed in your work, in your profession, all right? All right, so let me go ahead and, here's my contact information. This is my blog site, my blog post. Feel free to write it down. Feel free to reach out. Sapiens is glad to sponsor user groups. I may be able to visit you guys and do a live presentation, okay? I'm available. I'm always available. So I have my email address there from the company, and I'm right. There's one more item to clear in this. Okay, so anyone can remember some of the features that PowerShell Studio has? Okay. All right. Let's see. Is it competing? Okay. Okay.
One of the things I like most about it is that it compiles.
It creates executables.
Mm-hmm. You can, put credentials in,
Yeah.
without calling the file.
There's one. I just remember executable. One final thing I'm going to show you in here, and this is one thing that I've been working on the PowerShell Core side. Well, this is an example of a GUI running a PowerShell Core command and execute into a Windows form. Okay, so it is possible. So don't limit yourself that the product will only for Windows PowerShell, because there's way that you can tackle this. And basically, the way to tackle it, I'll show you the basic source code for this, is by script block. Where are you? Make sure I have the right file. Where is it? Where is it? Let me create this, close it, and come on. I have you in there. Yeah, and basically use a script block in order to run the, in order to do a start process. So you run the PowerShell Core in the background, and you just bring in the data out, in order to reuse that. And here it is. Here it is. This is the basic. This is the basic code. Just script block. In this case, I'm getting an example of get the PS version table only, the git commit value, and I create a start process here. There's a pass-through, and of course, I'll do a little bit of deserialization and serialization back into an object, and I run this in Windows PowerShell to get the information out. That's basically how it was done.
I have one recommendation. Make the function to find the PowerShell Core so when they change it, you never have that.
Oh, no. I know. That's, yeah. I know. You say, come on, man. This is just, I have my own developer, I here. Oh, come on, man. Oh, hey, we're teamwork, man. What the hell's going on?
So speaking of what you just said there, as long as PowerShell Core is in your tab,
Yeah, no, that's the same. Don't hard code the path. Discover the hard code path.
Okay, so I want you two and you. Give me more. But now it's now into to three people. More of the features that I talk about You mentioned one, but there's more. He mentioned the other one. Now I need to break the.
About Health Rider, it's a different product, but I already own the product, so. So, talk about WSLs earlier. Were you actually connecting to a remote system from?
No. This is very essential. Just do the start and run the PowerShell Core command as a script, and then get the result out.
But
It
sounded like you were talking to like a
oh well, in here I have the console enabled. So when you do run selection in console, the console that is active is Ubuntu, so it's going to run against it. Yeah, that is the trick. That when you do run selection, it runs to the active console you're on. Now, if you click the run button, then it will run for Windows PowerShell, which I don't want. Okay? All right, well, you're the winner. Interact. There you go. All right. Okay, guys, any questions? All right, thank you very much for this day. Enjoy the rest. Thanks.